Okay, we are live. Welcome to How to Build Your Own Home every Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We do live chat. So welcome. And my wife and I have an interesting story and something to consider and think about as you move forward with building and designing your home. Get some good advice. Get some people to give you some thoughts, impressions, and feedback about your home because it could end up biting you in the butt. And I want to just be kind of blunt with regard to this. A lot of people think that they're building their forever home. And with that, they think that they're never going to move, never going to sell, never going to have that kind of an issue. And so therefore they build their home. Well, this is the way we like it. This is what we like. And this is what we want. And as a result, they never really get any good feedback. Like I was talking with some clients just yesterday, and they didn't really know what they wanted. So they hired just an architect out of college just to be nice and just to kind of play with the process. And they spent a lot of time with this college student, and he really didn't have much experience. Excuse me. And so he gave him some sort of a feedback and some sort of a drawing. Now they're ready to go to the architect. And before they even go to the engineer, they'll go through me and go through my daughter and all that kind of stuff, get all this feedback on a home. And luckily, we've got our realtors, we've got designers, and all those types of people. You don't necessarily have to pay all these people, but get people that are close to you, friends, family. If you know anyone in the trades, to give you some feedback on the design of your home. My wife and I, how many homes have we walked through where we just scratch our head, honey?
Dozens and dozens.
And these are homes that are, we recently walked through a home and we were scratching our heads. And here's the problem. A lot of times people cannot sell those homes. We walked through a home several months ago and it had to be a short sell. They couldn't sell it because it had some obvious problems to it because they couldn't sell it. And those problems were so in the way of it being appealing in the market that they couldn't sell it. And so you want to take some time with your design of your home. I've seen some people, I'm looking at a home right now that the whole back of the house is facing the cul-de-sac. Now think about that. You build a cabin in a beautiful setting and you make the house face backwards into the cul-de-sac. And then the views aren't even captured because the house is facing due east. It's not facing south to capture the views. It's an odd thing a lot of people talk about. And you don't need to do that. I've seen way too many owner builders. They build in what's called a little cocoon inside their brain. And they think what they're doing is cute and unique and whatnot. But it may not be the right thing down the road. It may just hurt you. How many times, honey, have you seen people do things to homes and it's so hard to sell it?
Oh yeah. There was one person, luckily it wasn't my listing. There was one that they just thought, oh, if I just build $1 million home, it will sell. But the floor plan was horrible. You're like, what do you do with this space? And what do you do with this space? It was the worst design ever.
Mm-hmm.
And it was years before it sold, and they had to sell it at a way discount at a short sell. It was so sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of a blind spot for a lot of people, and I think the best thing to do is to get some feedback. Like I've seen a lot of people do something and build something that has no curb appeal, none whatsoever. And that's the first thing that gets people excited about buying your home. It does have curb appeal. I mean, it's being typecast. You walk in a room and you're going to be a character in a movie, and they'll typecast you like that. And a lot of times we build homes that are just so typecast. We walked through a home like a week ago, honey. How quick was that house typecasted?
Which one? I'm
The
sorry, I
one
had
with
lots.
the walkout basement.
I don't know what you mean. Sorry.
Okay.
Typecast.
They wanted some things done to it. They wanted a laundry and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
It was just automatically, there was just no appeal to it. And you don't have to do that. You don't have to go that route. And I'm just giving everybody a concern, something to really think about, because you're trying to build something that's going to hold value. If it's
Or
not going to
grow
hold
in value.
value, yeah, say that again, honey.
Or even grow in value. I mean,
Yeah,
ideally, you're putting all this hard work in, you're hoping that your value of your home will grow
right,
because you've been smart.
right. So that's the thing we're up against. We're up against that concern. As I build homes, I'm constantly thinking about, okay, will it hold value and will it increase value? The worst thing you want to do is build something that's just going to lose value, all because it doesn't fit architectural appeals. It doesn't have a curb appeal. It doesn't have a functionality that's got fluid through the home. For example, we walked through a home where the laundry was downstairs. Okay. The master was upstairs. Now think about that. You're an aging person, aging in place, and you've got a laundry downstairs through a steep stairway in the corner of a home, and you have to wash your clothes. That's not fun for me. All right, we live in a home where our laundry is right across the hall from our master bedroom. It's
The
nice,
ideal,
tucked away.
yeah, ideal laundry is to be able to access it and then have it from the primary bedroom closet. So you
Right.
have, like, that's ideal.
And if you can't do that, then okay, can you create space for a stackable washer and dryer? If you can create a little corner for that, then yeah, you have the laundry for your master area, and then maybe another laundry for the main part of the house. These are things to think about. And for example, in my wife's market, I know this for a fact that we do a lot of what was called slab on grade patio homes. Everything's on the main level. Your laundry is on the main level. Your master bedroom's on the main level. All that, your kitchen is all that on the main level. And you drive into the garage, again, that's on the main level. These are for people that are aging in place. And so we've learned a lot having built and sold and bought homes in one of the top 5 growing areas in the nation, especially for retirement. And given the fact that there's a lot of baby boomers out there, and they may end up coming back home and living with you, and you'll be taking care of mom and dad if that's the case. That's a multi-family or a multi-generational thing. Always thinking way down the line, can you maintain that value? Is it architecturally appealing? Does it flow right? Does it have all the bells and whistles that I need on a home? Or am I just going to ignore all that? I'm going to build what I want because I think this is my forever home. And most of the time, that's never the case. I've never really, things change in people's lives. I was really stable at one time, and we ended up moving to California for a while and almost had to give up our home. Luckily, we kept it. But had we given it up, that would not have been our forever home. So I wanted, maybe we can talk about this if you have any questions about that, because it touches base for both my wife and I when it comes to this issue of being an owner builder. Don't go about it blind. Get some good feedback. You wouldn't write a book and suddenly publish it without a good editor to go through it. That editor helps out. It's the same thing with building and designing and building a home. It's getting as much good feedback as you possibly can. I'm getting behind on some comments here that I want to get to, but if you have any questions related to that, please hit us up with it because that's really up our wheelhouse. Okay, let's start with some questions here. All things Rocco. How deep do I tell excavator to dig? Footer is 1 foot plus 9 foot walls. I think 1 foot exposed foundation is good. Or how much exposure should I do? Your geotech report would be specific on that particular question. If your geotech says that you need to over X, recompact, and then they'll set the elevation, I don't know. Without the geotech report, I can't tell. Now, you may be building an area where they may not require a geotech report. And so therefore you're making that guess. You're acting as the geotech engineer. And so I know there's places in Texas. I know there's places in uh, other parts of the country, Midwest especially. Even Florida is kind of loosey-goosey, believe it or not. So I really can't answer that question. I don't know the soils. I don't know the elevation. But how deep do I dig excavator to dig? If you got a 9-foot wall, obviously there's 9 foot that they're going to dig. If that's going to be a basement, a walkout basement, plus a footing, that could be 12 inches. I've seen them thicker, but that spread of that footing could be 18 inches, 24 inches, or even wider. Again, depending upon what the geotech report says. But it's how much do you dig beyond the foundation of the wall. So if that's a 9 foot and that's a walkout basement or some sort of a basement, I'm assuming that you're going to have to actually dig 5 feet beyond that, because guys have to get in there to set footings, set foundation walls. They need to walk around there. I've seen 3 feet, but that gets to be really tight. So make sure you find out how much space they need. But again, without that geotech report, I can't tell actually how deep you go. All right, good question.
Okay, I was just going to look to see if he responded yet. Okay, this is a multiple one, so I'll just keep doing it.
So I've tried that. People fear they will be the cause of something you won't like, so they tend to not give you their real opinion. I have an alternative, Reddit. That's a good point. Yeah. There's a lot of Facebook pages as well that are active like that. You can do it on our
Discord
group, and it's getting a lot more active. So people are active there. And then just people in the trades. People in the trades are really honest. Friends and family may not tell you what you want to hear, what you don't want to hear, but they will tell you some stuff. So don't be afraid. Just keep asking around and you'll get some good feedback. Okay.
This continues, honey. So I've told you there's multiple.
Okay. You can throw away a lot of what you read on Reddit, but there are some good suggestions there if you show your plans on some of the subs. Yeah, that's true.
Keep going.
In the end, I spent 2 years researching, learning everything I can about placement design, watching a lot of YouTube like you guys. Yeah, it helps. So, David, I think builders that have built lots of homes like you guys are good references. Yeah, talk with them. Just sit down and take them to lunch.
So I will tell you something too. I have a client and I do have the listing, which is really hard. They bought and their floor plan, it seems really nice and everything, but we have found out that there's a similar floor plan, just 100 square feet more, and the kitchen island just is turned a little bit different. And the client and the buyers have been buying that floor plan a lot more. And so when I talked to this builder, he said, yeah, we don't, that floor plan is discontinued because it was a hard sell.
Right.
So if you're out looking for floor plans and everything, and you're going through a big builder and they have lots of model homes, I would definitely ask which ones are the popular ones, which ones sell quickly, which ones are being discontinued, because they learn too. They build one and then like, oh, it's not selling. Well, if we just tweak it, it will sell better. Keith, remember when you were working for the nonprofit and it was harder and harder to sell, and then you tweaked it and added more square footage with the attic trusses, and then they were just flying off the shelves.
Right. I came onto this organization and none of the homes were selling because they were 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes. And it was nothing like our parents had. Our parents had basements, unfinished basements, places to grow. So I just said, let's throw some attic trusses and not finish it. It gave them the hope, gave them that this could be a long-term home or their forever home. And they all sold. I mean, I had 10 homes in an outlying area of Cedar City, which is in southern Utah, really ugly area, to be honest with you. This is the kind of area where everybody's got an acre and everybody has got an acre filled with garbage all over the place. And somehow we got 10 lots donated to us because we were a nonprofit. And so the bank donated them to us. So we got them, and then nobody wanted to live out there. And so suddenly I says, let's redesign these homes and give them a ton of square footage that they can grow into. We sold them all within just 6 months. And that's what people are looking for. They're looking for square footage more than a tiny room. We walked through a home recently, and the bedrooms are like 9 feet by 8. I mean, super tiny, super tiny. Nobody can put a queen size bed in those bedrooms. And to be honest with you, it's not going to be that much more costly to build a home with a little bit of extra square footage to accommodate some of these needs down the road. And the neat thing is if you do it right, then you can convert those bedrooms into an office, or you can convert them into something else. But don't be shy away from square footage. Be shy away from bad design. That's worse than building too big of a home. The worst is building a monstrosity of a home that's so terrible in its layout and so terrible in its functionality that nobody wants to buy it. And I'm seeing that happen even with big homes. People build big homes, but if you've got a family and your kids are so far away from your master bedroom, it's great when they're teenagers, but when they're young, it's hard. So you have to know your market, have to know who you might end up selling to down the road. Here's a good thing to consider. I lived in a place called Thousand Oaks, California. It was one of the fastest growing places in America. And when they built the homes, they built them for families, okay? But what happened in California is happening across the country. People build in these subdivisions. Typically, they're building to families. But as 15, 20 years go by, the dynamics of the community changed drastically. There's no longer young families living in there. There's older people. Now, if those homes were not planned or designed to accommodate for an older generation down the road, it makes it more difficult to sell, which is why you see a lot of remodeling 25 years later on a home, especially homes that were built in the 70s and 80s. They were so cut up and so broken up in design. By the time they came around our time, I have a video on a home. It was a monstrosity of a home. It was so cut up and so unappealing. We had to do some major surgical operations to create a massive open space. It's on our channel. And so, again, not knowing the future, not knowing the trends, styles, design, that kind of stuff, you can actually design something that's just going to be ugly. And I think the open floor plan is going to be around for a long time. I don't think we're ever going to cut up our homes again. And I remember when I was a kid, we had a dining room, a room just for a dining table. That's it. And that was costly. I mean, that was costly. Now they got rid of that and just created an open concept plan and moved that into an open living area. So again, those homes that were built in the 80s and 70s, that dining room is gone. They've refabricated, redesigned those homes. And why do that? You know, there's no need to design a way that makes it costly down the road. I'll belabor that no more. So we'll go on to the next question. Honey Caffeine, our garage granny flat build is almost a square, and the roof will be a hip roof. So the ridge vent is too small, requiring other vents. Your thoughts? That's only on the hip end of that. You should still be able to get a vent up top somewhere where the transition goes to the next roof. So even though you're hipped, there's not entirely hipped. I wouldn't think, but you can find a spot just to put a ridge vent up there, even if it's at the very top somewhere. So hip roof is when it comes up like this, and here's the regular roof. It's plain like that, and the other side is plain like that, and this hip roof just comes out like that. Well, that transition where the hip roof meets the regular ridge of the roof, you should be able to put a vent right up at the top there somewhere. Just ask your roofer and find out, hey, we want to put a vent in here. Where do you suggest we do that? And they should be able to give you some feedback on that without seeing the actual design. I'm just imagining in my mind what I'm looking at.
Okay, this is a two-part. Just some thoughts from David Parker.
Okay, I've been thinking of that as a starter finisher and for everything in between. Small enough for one big, there's a
big enough for a family.
of 8 and more, split a big bedroom, employ bunks for kids, 2 bed, 2 bath. Yeah, that's not bad. The neat thing about bunks is they're really functional
Hey,
for kids, but they can be pulled out and created into a regular bedroom.
keep going.
The 2 beds would become 3 bedrooms. I think children with close cohesion will grow up less spoiled, better bonded, and better characters. Yes, yes, yes. I never had my own room when I was a kid, and my kids never had their own room. Our daughter had her own room, but our boys had to share a room. Um, and she wishes she could have been with the boys anyway. So making kids live together is a great grounding for them later on in life, especially when they go to college, if they choose to go to college.
Yeah.
Um, 2 beds would be. Oh, that's the same question. Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Um, let's see. JDIST comp. I want to put new siding over old siding. What do you think? It's an old house with a sheer wall, with no sheer wall. You're going to run into a problem with your windows.
Mm,
If you do that, you have to flash your windows because that new siding is going to come out past your windows, and you're going to see all that woodwork in there. I would end up pulling off the siding and just putting new on. It's not that hard to pull it off. Or put some flashing around the windows and then put the new siding up. So, especially if you do insulation, which is a new code. So, if you put insulation, a full envelope wrap around that, then you have then you're going to need to flash those windows. Again, look at the siding that's on there. Most windows come out 1.5 inches, sometimes 2 inches. You can get windows custom with an additional trim around them to accommodate what you're talking about, either insulation and siding or just new siding on top of old siding. But again, the windows are going to be same with doors. Doors are going to be a problem too. What are you going to do? You got to trim that out with extra thick trim. So, good question though.
I think a lot of our owner builders are out. It's when summer starts coming, people start taking vacations, and then also the light. We were noticing it was 9:30 last night and it was still light outside.
Yeah.
So it makes it so you can work longer for sure. And so
Yeah,
I
when
think,
we built our first home, we lost a lot of weight, huh, honey? We didn't come home till like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock sometimes.
yeah, we'd grab pizza, bring the kids, have the kids sweep and clean while we were working, and
That was a lot
just,
of
yep,
work.
it was a lot of work. We did it. It was good.
It was sure worth it though. We enjoyed it, and you'll find that building a home, especially the best time to build a home when the kids are around 10 years of age, because they can do something. All
Yeah.
right. The worst time is when they're married and they don't have time for you anymore.
Yeah.
So
Or
that's
even
another
not
thing to
even
think.
married, like just single and doing the social scene, they don't have time.
Yeah, it's a really good thing to consider as the best time in your life to build your own home. Some
Yeah.
people might do it several times in their life. I know I've been through that several times. But if you can time it right, so kids are home, great. Like I had 2 boys that went on religious missions, and I timed the roof when they got back.
Yeah.
When they got back,
It's
they tore off 4 layers of shingles. It was brutal, and
it
it
was
piled
bad.
up almost 4 feet high on the full perimeter of the home.
It was
Because I
so bad.
didn't, and when it was great that I waited, but when they got back, they said, "Dad, we don't ever want to do this again." But you got to tap into that when you can. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, this is Stay Rich 33. Working in my first 15 unit development in the Riverside, would you go all in on it or do a smaller project first? Um, if you have the financing and you have your budget and you feel confident in that, I wouldn't feel too amiss to that. If it's a good question, I mean, I wouldn't fear that at all myself.
Yeah.
But I'd make sure I have enough padding and contingency in that budget so that if I had some overages, I could accommodate for them.
Yeah, and then you want to look into what are you going to be doing with the 15 unit development? Are you selling each one? Are you keeping some? Are you selling others? Then you want to look at the market to see what that market is doing. So really it's what the market is going to be able to handle. If you're renting them, is the rental units is there an oversaturation of rentals right now? There's lots of
Yeah.
questions to ask.
If you're doing 15 unit, I wouldn't do them all at once. I'd get yourself wet with one or two and see if they sell, and or even just one. And that way, hey, I did that one. I had the hiccups, but I learned my lesson on XYZ. Now I'm ready to do three at a time, and then you're just scaling that up. So I would take it slowly if you do it, and put them on the market as soon as you can if they're for sale or for rent. But best of luck with that. I had a student when I first started How to Build Your Own Home. One of my second consult, second student was a woman who did a fourplex in San Diego. And that didn't scare her, it didn't scare me. It's just a little more scaled up than what you're used to. So it's just more of what you were going to do with a 1,500 square foot or 2,500 square foot home. It's just more. That's all it is. It affects your timing and scheduling and budget, but it's all the same thing. Good question.
David has a comment. Pretty sure you have kids to have them help build the house and take care of the fam.
Yeah, farm. Yeah.
The farm. Yeah, sorry. The farm. And it's true. The kids that learn how to work and do that type of stuff, they're better prepared, I feel, for life than those that are just feeling entitled and wanting the next new toy and stuff like that. So don't be afraid of getting hard work. I was talking to some people in my office, and there's a lot of them that have different age kids, and one is over a youth group. And I asked him, what is the biggest concern right now for the youth? And he said, very first thing he said is they don't know how to do hard things.
Yep. They don't know how to work hard.
Yeah.
So
okay.
It's a big problem. I will be the GC, but hiring someone with construction experience for oversight, what is the best strategy to pay them? Per hour, per week, or per month, or per site visit, etc. He made him do some work too. Give him a flat fee over the entire project, and then divide that into 7 months. That's what I would do. So you have him looking forward to some money coming, and then you have a list of all the things you're asking for him to do.
Mm-hmm.
You're not asking for
Write it out.
a certain number of hours on a job site, because then they'll just milk it. You're asking him, I want you to check the site every day. I want you to give me a report every day. I want you to copy me on scheduling and whatever it may be. But to negotiate a fee, and it could be 20, 30,000 for a home, which is far less than a GC you would pay, or it could be 15,000, could be 10,000, some negotiated price. And then you want to find out how far he lives from the job. So if he lives 30 minutes from the job, then that's going to cut down on his ability to be there as much as he possibly can. So get some things under your head first, so that you know that, yeah, he's real close by. He'll be able to watch the job, manage the job, and how much of the management will he take over. And then the other thing is you might want to just get him to just get you to dry stage, and then you take it from there. And that could be a savings. It depends on how much you really want his work, and ask him, hey, what do you think you want for this? What do you think you'll charge me for this? And can we talk about that? Just sit down and talk with him. Okay. Some of my ideas are extreme. This is from David Parker, 2173, which I have to walk back and be more reasonable. One must be practical and consider the largest market of universal need. That's a good way to put that. Yeah, largest market of universal need. That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so
2 minutes from the job. I saw that.
Say
And
Rich says the 15 units are going to be for rent. So is it all a 15 unit or is it a 5 unit, 5 unit, 5 unit? I mean, you could build one, and if you start leasing them, because you can put a sign in, going to be for lease, and if you start leasing them right away, then you just keep building. That's what the guys in my office do.
yeah, as soon as you can get one leased out, the better. And I wouldn't do the whole thing at once. I'd get one leased out. And what's your cap rate? What's your rent rate and all that kind of stuff in your local market?
And if you have a property management that's taking over, that's going to do the rental, like they could start marketing it right away, and then they can give you feedback on how quick they're going to rent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thoughts on hardy plank versus formed stucco to look like it in East Central Florida.
Hardy plank versus formed.
I'd stay away from the stucco. Stucco's a really hard product in high humid environments, especially coastal environments. You can't do stucco like we do here in the Midwest and even the Southwest. We do stucco with a polyiso foam behind it, and it helps hold the integrity of that stucco quite well. Plus, it adds an additional R value on the home. You can't do that on the coast. It's just straight lath and gray coat and finish coat. So I would really go with the hardy plank. It's going to last longer. It's solid concrete on your house. It's not going to rot over time. And it actually will look a little more appealing because that classical look is actually coming back. Stucco is the big rage for a long time. It is more affordable stucco, but the hardy plank is going to last longer than stucco. Stucco tends to settle and shrink and crack, and it has a fading quality to it. Mm-hmm. And then if you don't put any polyiso coating on it, then the sprinklers get it stained, and you name it, it looks bad. So stucco is gonna, I think it's fading out a little bit, and it's only being an accented part of the home. There's more rock, there's more fenestration on a home than you'll see with stucco these days.
I think that's with like luxury. I think with the less expensive homes, I think they're going with stucco still. But yeah, if you want a classy look, the hardy back is nice.
Yeah.
Okay, back to Basel Kingsley. He says
2 minutes
that
is not bad. That's good. 2 minutes.
2 minutes from the job. So yeah.
Honey Caffeine, what do you think of the different types of drywall finishes to reduce the hours spent sanding and mudding? Definitely not a level 5. In our course, it talks about all these different levels. Level 5 requires an absolutely straight and perfect wall structure. And it becomes more complicated the larger the wall and the longer the wall, because you'll see those imperfections. And people who go, the worst wall of all is a level 5 on a flat paint wall. That's the absolute worst. You don't even want to go there. I don't know if you know what that means, but level 5 is super straight, and a flat paint means that you'll see every imperfection. And if somebody marks the wall, you just can't touch it up. You have to paint the whole darn wall. So I stay away from those two. Number 4 is not so bad if it's somewhat textured. Smooth can be achieved on a number 4. And that's not bad. And most drywallers are adept at that. However, you might see some subtle imperfections the larger the wall and the more of a shadow that's cast on the wall, like an early morning rise of a sun or sunset, you'll see something there. But if you can go with a slight texture, an old world texture, and they sand it down really, really nicely, but it hides, and then you do a satin paint or something like that. It hides, kids' prints and stuff like that. I typically go between a level 3 and 4. That's where I go for drywall. I don't ever go with 1 or 2 because that's just tape and texture. Tape is not much of a texture.
And don't do orange pill. It's still, it tried to come back a little bit, but it's just not popular. Just do the slightly textured.
Yeah, if you do orange pill or anything close to that, you can't put wallpaper up there. Mm-hmm. So the neat thing about a number 4 smooth is that you can put, wallpaper up, but it's very hard to put wallpaper on an orange pill.
Yeah, you don't want orange pill.
Good question.
Okay.
Thank you
John
for all you do for the owner builder community. You're welcome.
Welcome.
And I think that's got some more questions coming here. Stay rich. It's a 1 acre lot in Riverside, California. The plan is to build about 15 rental units and hold them long term rather than sell them. Okay.
Yeah, if you can do that, do it. That's awesome.
Yeah. David, what is the best siding there is for all practical purposes, or perhaps what is your greatest preference? Anything that's cement based, to be honest with you. Any hardy material is really, really phenomenal for that product. I would actually rock my entire homes if I could afford it. But I have done a lot of hardy. Hardy can come in batten board, shiplap. It can come in a shake style. It can appeal to just about any need, desire you want. And that's the neat thing. I keep seeing a lot of, and I have products shipped to me all the time. I keep seeing vinyl siding. Oh, look, we've got insulation in our vinyl siding, and it's rigid polyiso foam. So if any heat hits that, it's just going to liquefy. I build in extreme heats, so it can be up to 115 degrees Fahrenheit. If I put vinyl siding on homes that's the sun's hitting it, it will warp. It just warp in the heat. And I've seen that happen, especially in Arizona, Nevada, some parts of Texas, and other really hot areas. So I avoid stuff like that. Even in cold weather, where I get some high winds against there, I can hear the wind rattle against that light. I like a denser material on my walls, exterior walls, and that lighter material, I can hear it flap around. And so I'm very, very, and I keep looking for products. But to be honest with you, that's one of the reasons why I like OmniBlock, because you just put a synthetic glue in the gray coat, put a finish coat on there, done, no laugh. And the wind can hit that all it wants, and you're not going to hear it. We built an addition on our home in St. George, Utah, and we still have that home, and it doesn't get any kind of problem like that. But if we put some other products on there, we could have a problem there. But again, what's the best siding? And there's some other very expensive. There's a siding product that's solid concrete, but it looks like a log, but that's very expensive. There's a lot of fenestration too, as well, for around the windows and trim that you can use. Fenestration basically means your windows. It's windows and doors. And the more windows you have, you can put some cost there, and then just put something nicer around the house. One thing I don't like is when people put some rock on the front of the home and they only go up 3 feet and that's it. They stop. And it doesn't really help the house. If it's done right, it can, but rather than just do a 3 foot wainscot on the front of a home, just pick a whole wall and go full up on the whole wall. And that actually has more of appeal than just this really cheap looking fenestration that goes below the windows. So if you're going to do something, do it so it looks like it was designed that way, not that you couldn't afford it any other way. And that's really the trick. But yeah, good question. I keep looking at products, and it's just I scratch my head, and there's just not much out there. Okay, I think if you start with grand ideas, there's nothing wrong with that. Then you look at it and pick out the parts you really want and need, and start cutting it back to those things. Yeah,
that's the thing, cutting it back.
And then even if you did it in phases, there's the grand idea, but it's in a 2-phase scenario or a 3-step process. Mm-hmm. So, like we walked through a house recently for some people that didn't have a garage on it. $450,000 home, no garage. So that's a lot of money to pay in a snowy environment, no garage. That's one of the reasons why it's really going to be hard for some homes to sell, because they didn't think about that. Okay. I had met you in Vegas during the Builders Show. I have the property of that city with like multiple SFRs in Thousand Oaks. I grew up in Thousand Oaks. I went to
we talked to her.
Can you please contact me again privately so I can exchange contact information again? I'd like to consider a JV if you're up for it. Yeah.
So go to
message
How to Build Your Own Home.
Yeah, go to How to Build Your Home and message the instructor and
We'll
reach
get
out to me that way. Okay.
And good to see you. I remember you.
Yeah, Robert 8657. I am building a mountain home, not wanting LVP because of the changes in temperature. That means luxury vinyl plank. You gave a previous recommendation for high-end flooring that wasn't standard hardwood. Any recommendations? I've done a lot of luxury vinyl planks in mountain homes. I just don't like floating floors. That's whatever you do in a mountain home, because of the fluctuations in temperature, they can range from minus 20 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. I mean, that rapid, that much of a fluctuation over a few weeks, that will do a number on a hardwood floor that is not glued down. So whatever you do, I would recommend putting down a floor that is a glued down floor. And I always go for a thicker floor as possible. Now, I've seen floors that are engineered that are not even barely a half inch. I prefer a 3/4 inch solid engineered wood that is glued down. And that's you look at the veneer on that, and if it looks thick enough, it should be able to take a sanding 2 or 3 times. I have an old home in St. George where we put a 3/4 inch a floor on there. Eventually, we're going to sand that down. We will never lift or destroy that floor because it's almost a solid wood floor. I don't like solid wood too much. Oh, the one I'm talking about, it's a clip. It's a solid floor, but it's really 3/4 of an inch, and it clips together. I forget the name of it. But I tried that. I did it on a job where I built a dance studio for a client. And it didn't come out the way I thought it did. He was okay with it. We had to do some fixes because it wasn't really holding down flush. And there were some places where the dancer could trip. So we had to make adjustments and fix that. It wasn't as flush as I'd like. Again, I'd prefer a glue down floor. So I know what you're talking about, but just research solid wood floors and you'll see it. And and you can even order samples. Imagine these two phones that are together and it clips in like that. And it's so heavy, it locks in place and it's pretty nice. But again, it's a floating floor and it's the only floating floor that you can put a piano on, that you can put your cabinets right on it. They approved that because it's so locked in and it's so thick that it's not going to move or budge. But again, it's better than a floating floor that doesn't allow for that. So good question. If I had
which one do you prefer? Do you prefer the glue down or that?
Glue down. I prefer the glue down over everything. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, next question.
Okay. Let's see. Sorry.
David Parker, have you ever used magnesium oxide panels to build a house? I have heard of that, and I think the magnesium oxide actually helps with refracting the sun back out in the atmosphere, if I'm correct. They put magnesium oxide on the roofs of barns, the Amish do, and it keeps everything cooler in the barns and in the homes. They actually paint it with magnesium oxide. So I've never heard of magnesium oxide panels built. So I've never done that, but I've seen people paint their roofs with it. So good question. Hit the thumbs up. Yes, we like that.
I haven't heard of this one. This one's David Parker. Arbor vinyl siding? Arbor?
No, I haven't. The word vinyl is the one that's kind of an aversion to me, but I have not heard of them. There are a lot of different products out there that are vinyl. Anything you can make of oil is pretty affordable and pretty cheap. But if you want something that's going to withstand fires, that's not going to be it. And high winds too. For an en-bloc garage in Michigan weather, how would we plan to install exterior water spigots? Now, keep in mind the exterior water spigots are typically installed in a T framing structure. Okay. So imagine you have walls, no omniblock, and there's a wall going perpendicular like this. The spigot has to go right down through there because it goes into this wall structure right here on this, my right hand. And that's where you typically put a spigot in. It could be the same thing with an omniblock. Okay. If you find a wall where it's going to be a T coming right up to the omniblock, and you come in that way because the spigot, most frost spigots are like 12 inches or longer, and they come in that deep, and the omniblock wall is only 8 inches. So you're going to have to come in past the omniblock anyway. So find a wall that's teed, that's meeting the omniblock, and make your spigot connect right there. Another way is to do it on the corner, but that's a little more complicated. And if you have a problem and you have a freezing issue, then it's really hard to fix that. Really hard. So find a T structure that's coming to the meeting the omniblock in a T. Like this is the omniblock right here, and there's an interior wall structure meeting the omniblock, and that's where you put your spigot.
Okay, David B. Lots of new metal siding coming out now too.
Yeah. If it's aluminum, it's superior. If it's not aluminum, it's going to have a hard time with its paint, and it's going to fade. And then it can be, there's some issues with regard to electrical problems, electrical storms. And if there's a solar micronova, that might not be the best thing to live in. So do some research there.
Okay. Phil Cook. Are new builds using any wallpaper these days, or is that too old school now? No, wallpaper is coming in. Last year, it's really, so it's not, well, there's some that's doing the whole wall. Some are doing accent walls, but the new wallpaper that's coming out, there's some beautiful designs. And then also a very classic traditional looks are coming back in. So yes, wallpaper is coming back in.
Especially for ceilings now. I'm seeing a lot of ceilings being added to with wallpaper. So I like the omniblock, but I have a question to start from over time. That's going to be fine. That's just going to be your thermal break. The omniblock has 2 thermal breaks. In my mind, it's the best wall design system on the market because of its thermal break, meaning that it takes a long time for the heat to transition all the way through the wall because of the thermal breaks are like that. I had a little debate with a staff member with my county, and the staff member wanted to create rammed earth homes, and create a code structure for rammed earth homes. And I got into a little discussion with him. I said, rammed earth is just solid, dense density. That's all. There's no thermal break. So you're going to have heat and cold conductivity through that wall quite easily because there's not going to be a break. If you look inside the window structure, the engineering of a window, they have a complete thermal break on that window, meaning if you have aluminum windows, which a lot of people do, that conductivity of the window on the outside can't necessarily work its way to the inside because there's a silicone or a plastic break between the metal on the outside and the metal on the inside. That means a thermal break. Omniblock has a double thermal break, actually almost a triple thermal break. It's phenomenal. So that's how effective it is. There's a fast wall, it's the same way. It's got a massive thermal break inside the wall. It really slows down the transfer of cold to heat. And again, heat chases cold, so it slows that down quite immensely. It's phenomenal. So don't worry about the stone. Don't worry about the styrofoam. That just is adding to the thermal break. Radiant heated floors, pros and cons. Weber County, Utah. Well, you're in a cold climate, and heating from the floor up is advantageous in a cold climate. That's the pros. The cons is if you ever have to remodel your home, which could happen down the road, cutting into that floor is going to be an absolute nightmare because you will destroy that entire heating system. That's why I stay away from them, because I've remodeled so much over my lifetime. If I had that, I would never want to have to. I would say to my client, I'm sorry, but if I cut into this, I'm going to destroy your entire heating system of your home. So that's why I stay away from them. The only place I put heating is in a tile in the bathroom, and it's done below the lath structure, meaning you could bust up the tile if you wanted to and clean it all up. The heating element is below that. It's in the first gray coat or the lath coat, and it's all protected. You just have to know that you can't drill through that, or you're going to have a problem down the road. As long as you know you're never going to move the tub and the toilet, you should be fine. But heating and a heating element, and I'm going to do a video on this. I did a video on it just a couple of days ago, and I actually showed where the heating element was. Here's a good video of it. You can see there that they've got the bottom layer on there, and then that's showing the electrical heating unit, and that's the part that turns it on. You just turn it on right there, and then it warms that floor, and you can keep it on all the time during the wintertime, and then turn it off in the summer when you don't need it anymore. So that's a pro, very little cons in a bathroom. And again, like I said, I didn't show the video after that, but they put a whole gray coat on there, a hard, kind of like Hardy. They had the Hardy planks for a long time, but now they have a lath product. Once that's on there, you can easily put tile on it, and you can actually bust the tile up very carefully to make sure you don't destroy that heating element. So that's where I put heating elements in the floor, is in the bathrooms. Okay, good question.
This is a good question. Triple R.
What are a few good simple examples of things that I can change with my framer on the spot that maybe my drawings didn't take into consideration? Adding archways instead of square openings. That could be one, and it's not that hard to do. They can do it in 30 minutes time with some OSB and some 2x4s. That's one thing you can do.
If you have a really good framer, they'll tell you, hey, I can make this space usable. We had a framer do that, and he gave us so much space, and he was amazing.
Yeah, it depends on the truss system you're using, if there's an upstairs or downstairs. I did a home for some clients, and it was a really tiny home, and they had 4 kids, and I kind of felt like they needed something special. So I put 2 benches inside the windows going up the steps so that they could have a cushion there. And then as you were going up the steps, we put in some little cubbies for books. So that way if the kid wanted to, they can kind of isolate themselves, do their own studies in the stairwell. And it had windows all throughout the spiral staircase. And that was a really nice touch. I always try to make sure I utilize every bit of space you possibly can in a home, even if it's under the stairs. Sometimes they'll just seal it off. I go, don't seal it off. We're going to use it for storage, and we use it for storage.
Okay, ready? Let's do it.
I could talk forever on that one, but I think that would give you some ideas. Would Hardy board siding make sense over Omniblock? No, I'll tell you why. I could go for one of the Omniblock finishes, but my wife doesn't like the look, so we're thinking stucco, but Hardy might be an option. That would be a lot of application. You have to have hammer nails, concrete nails, screws. It's not something I recommend. Just do a nice stucco. What I would recommend is they do a stucco, and then you can put a nice Hardy trim around the windows, and I've done that. That looked really nice, and then the trim is Hardy material, so it's cement on cement, and you can put that up there. If you buck your windows with the 2x6 material or 2x8 material, then you have a nice piece of wood to hammer or nail trim to, and that's something. When I do my Omniblock homes, I always bucked all my windows. I don't know if you know what that means, but it means I put wood trim around the entire window. You have to buy the wood anyway, because if you have a window, you need a bond beam above the window. that bond beam needs to be supported by a framing structure underneath. So when it's cured, you can pull it out. Well, I don't want it cured. I don't want to pull it out. I want it all bucked. That way I have a place to nail drywall to on the inside. If I do that, actually, I don't put the drywall. I just mud the inside. That's the neat thing about OmniBlock. On the inside, all I do is mud. I don't glue a drywall to it. I did on accident, and it hasn't been a problem because I live in an arid climate. But if you live in a humid climate, that could be a problem. So you just mud the inside. So you're saving a huge amount of money on not actually hanging drywall. And on the outside, there's no lath. You can just actually stucco that with gray coat and then finish coat, and you're done. And it's the trim that's going to make it pop. If you wanted something else, you could apply a brick, or a rock to the outside, and that's going to be easy to apply. Again, you don't need any lath because it's going to bond directly to the cement, to the OmniBlock itself. So think of changing it up with some other, wainscoting with rock on a certain portion of it. I did an OmniBlock home, a very big one, about 3 years ago. And just look through it, and it's called the most affordable, most cost-efficient home I've ever built. And it's in my videos. Just go through there and you'll see it. So, good question. Kelly Ward 900, thoughts on engineered wood on slab, 9/16 thick, East Central Florida. That's not bad. You know, as long as it's glued down, that's going to be much better. If it's a floating floor, then you could have over time moisture buildup in Florida. And the worst thing you want is moisture buildup under a floor. Oh, it's the worst thing. You'll have a smell in your home you'll never be able to get rid of. So if it's glued down, you got a solid seal, a solid connection to that subfloor, which is again a slab on 9/16 thick. Yeah, I would just, if you can do a glue down, even if it's engineered, it doesn't matter. Glue down engineer would be good. You can see how much I appeal to glue down floors. What would be another alternative besides double wall for second story to get good R value in South Florida? I'm not sure you need good R value in South Florida. I would want something that would be more rigid against hurricanes. So why are you needing high R value in South Florida? That's my question. You have a moderate temperature year round. Maybe in the panhandle it can get cold, but the further south you go, the more moderate that gets, the more subtropic it becomes. And so rather than a double wall, the double wall would actually be more of an efficient thing for high winds and hurricanes. That's why I would do a double wall. But again, an OmniBlock wall would be better than a double wall. All right. Anything solid like that has rebar and concrete in the wall structure would actually be a better wall like that. I had a gentleman I did a consult on, and he's doing a full brick rock on the exterior of the wall of the OmniBlock home in there in Florida. That sucker's not going to go anywhere. So I would do a double wall in Alaska. In fact, they actually are pushing for that code up there. In fact, they do what's called advanced framing, where they don't do the stud 16 on center. They do it 24 inches on center every 2 feet. And that, because the heat, the studs are not a good insulator. They actually conduct heat and cold through the wall structure. So by eliminating half the number of studs, you're actually creating more efficiency on the home. Now in Florida, I wouldn't even go that route. I'd do 16 inches on center, 2x6 or whatever. But rather than a double wall, I'd put insulation, mineral wool on the outside of that home. That's going to create more comfort for you, and it's going to be fire retardant, and it's going to be mold proof on top of all that. So that's what I would do on your home. Put your money where the best result is going to be. So good question. Dave Parker, does OmniBlock have designs for houses? You can ask Denny, but he's going to refer you to my architect, Lonnie. Lonnie actually does a lot of OmniBlock designs. So if you want, you can reach out. He's in our program. If you've done the self-managed course, and you'll see architects, engineers, etc., reach out to Lonnie and say, Lonnie, can you send me some plans you've done in OmniBlock? And he'll be happy to say, here's a couple. He won't actually send you the plans, but he'll give you the kind of a looky-loo of what it looks like. And you kind of go from there. But the straighter you keep your walls, keeping your home at 9 to 10 feet, don't going too high, that's going to save on your costs. A great straight up rectangular design is not bad. It's really affordable. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That's it for today. We've hit 6:03.
Yeah, we went over to. I had so much fun. I didn't even know it's after 6 o'clock. So, yeah, there's a lot of other questions there. Do you want time for one or two more?
No, we did them all. Like yeah.
There says I've moved from an ICF. You can build a solar if you want. Have land and do a heat pump or geothermal. I've heard of that. More effective speed. I really like the ICF, but budgets be budgeting. Yeah.
And here's another one.
I'd put the money for geothermal or solar. Yeah, I probably would too, especially solar, into higher insulated walls and triple glazed windows myself. Yeah. A lot of great feedback out there. I appreciate everybody. We'll be back here next Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And have your questions ready. If you've not ever been to our live chat, message us through How to Build Your Own Home and look at our courses. We've got great courses out there. And we'll see you guys next week.